Eh. Alrighty, hello YouTube. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Cryptic Coil, and in today's video, I'd first like to wish each and every single one of you, as long as you're American, that is, a happy 4th of July and Independence Day. And if you're not American, forget you. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Look, it's not exactly beneath me to go for that low-hanging fruit. And that's all that was, okay? All right. But seriously, happy 4th of July to my fellow Americans. All right. So I do have a book haul for you. And there's a couple of repeats, and I guess I'll get those out of the way. The first couple of repeats are I found another copy of What My Sister Remembered by Marilyn Sachs. And this is a middle grade scholastic publishing, and it sounds so good. I haven't read it yet. I already have a copy, and the copy that I already have is in pretty bad condition, but this one used to be owned by a school teacher who wrote their name in Sharpie on the corner, which is fine because I have some isopropyl alcohol, and isopropyl alcohol is really good at removing Sharpie, okay? However, what's not fine is that they also wrote their classroom and hallway number and whatever else on the edge of the pages in marker as well. And there's really nothing I can do about that. And so that kind of sucks because this book is in actually super good condition. It's in better condition than the copy that I already have, except they had to go and write all over it. Ugh. All right, then I found another copy of Haunted Schools True Ghost Stories by Alan Zulo. And I already have this book, and I already have a copy with this cover on it. And then I have another copy with a different cover on it. So I don't know. I might end up, as cheap as I find them, I might end up lotting them up and selling them for a couple of bucks profit on eBay at some later time. So that's a repeat. Okay, and then I'm really excited about this one because, as some of you know, whenever I find these vintage young adult horror novels, especially like point horror books, in really good condition, I don't have the heart to read them because I don't want to, mess up the condition. So I look for beat up backup copies that I use as reading copies as opposed to collector's copies because I am a collector. But I also like to read. And so I found another copy of Still More Tales for the Midnight Hour, which is the third book in the series by J.B. Stamper, published by Point. And I now have a backup copy of the whole trilogy, and this one is really, this one's got a little bit of water damage. It's just, and it's got some writing on the inner cover. So it's just, in bad enough condition for me to use it as a reading copy, but it's also, in good enough condition to where it's not going to fall apart if I read it. So that's cool. All right. So I was excited about that. I'm going to save the adult books for last. And I guess for now, I'll stick to middle grade, and then I'll move on to young adult, and then I'll do the adult books last. Okay. So, I've seen this author's books on the shelves before. I think I might only own like one, but this one is called The Hideout by Eve Bunting. And it has an interesting looking cover. I really like these vintage old mirrors with wooden frames. They just look so classy. So let's go ahead and read the synopsis on the back. I told myself that I wasn't hungry anymore and that I was safe till morning, that this was the perfect hideout. I guess I slept, but I wasn't safe, because sometime in the night I wakened to a small muffled noise, to knowing somebody was in the room with me, somebody who hadn't switched on the lights, but who had a flashlight with a narrow white beam that was sweeping around, sweeping in my direction. All right, that sounds kind of freaky. This is from the year 1991, and I mean, it looks good, you know. So I guess I now have like two Eve Bunting books in my collection, so that's cool. This one was really exciting because I swear every time I think I have all of Betty Wren Wright's middle grade ghost story books, I found another one. And this is an ex library copy. It used to be owned by, is this a local high school? No, it might just be a public library here in town. But, you know, this is pretty cool. It's called A Ghost in the Family by Betty Wren Wright. And look at that cover. That is freaky. Is that a mummy in the doorway of this, like, little kid's bedroom? Look at that. All right. So, let's read the synopsis on the inner dust jacket. Oh, look, they even have a picture of Betty Wren Wright. I don't think I've ever seen a photo of her before. Okay, so here's the synopsis on the inner dust jacket. When 10-year-old Chad Weldon's friend, Jeannie, Jenny, I'm going to say Jeannie, okay? When 10-year-old Chad Weldon's friend, Jeannie Nichols, invites him to visit her eccentric aunt, he's in for more than a vacation. Aunt Rosebud runs a boarding house full of odd characters, and as soon as Chad and Jeannie arrive, bizarre things start happening. Chad's toothbrush moves around his room on its own. A frightening mummy appears and disappears, and a panther leaps out of his closet. Even scarier, Madame Capel, a fortune teller, says she sees trouble all around him. Chad desperately wants to go home, but he knows that his father won't believe the things that have gone on. Soon, Chad and Jeannie hear about a diamond bracelet that was stolen recently. The two friends take it upon themselves to solve the mystery against all odds. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think it's cool that I found it, but that one's not really grabbing me. But, you know, I'm grateful to have it in the collection. All right. So, sticking with middle grade, I found this one by Norma Tadlock Johnson, and it's called Bats on the Bedstead. And look at that cover. That is a great looking cover. This is a Avon Camelot Publishing. There is a tagline on the front: a talking bat. Ricky couldn't believe it, and nobody believed the bats were out to get him. So let's read the synopsis on back. What are you doing in this house? Ricky's mouth fell open. Hanging from its toes at the foot of the bed was this weird-looking creature with mean little shiny black eyes. A bat. We got rid of you humans before. You're not wanted in our house. Ricky and his friend had just moved in. Or Ricky and his family had just moved in. Why did the bat think that this was its house? Its beady little eyes got meaner. Just consider yourself warned. That was the last thing the bat said before it disappeared in a soundless flash of black. Ricky was terrified. A talking bat. He couldn't believe it. But Ricky's problems had just begun. Unless he could convince his mom and dad to move out of their new house, the bat was going to make him very, very sorry. That sounds okay. I mean, I'm not itching to read it. I do like bats though, but this is from the year or it was copyrighted in '87, but it was printed in '88. Great healthy spine, cover's not too bad. There's a little bit of a crease on the back cover, not too bad. Happy to add it to the collection. All right, then I found two books from this author, and these are yearling publishings. The author's name is Peggy Parrish, and the first book that I found from her is called The Haunted House, and she's the author of the Amelia Bedelia books. which I know I've read in like second or third grade. I didn't wasn't really into them. I think that my teachers just had a bunch of those Amelia Bedelia books on the bookshelves in their classrooms. But this one's called The Haunted House, and it's got a very modern looking cover with very modern looking children. So, but I had looked inside the copyright page to see what year it was published, and it looks like it was printed in, or the copyright was in 1971, and then I don't know. It says printed in the United States of America, February 1981. But this does not look like an 80s cover at all. Those kids do not look like they're from the 80s. Anyway, here's the synopsis on back. "Oh no," said Liza. "I won't believe in a haunted house. The haunted house is the old black place, and in spite of Liza's protests, that's where the Roberts family is going to live." Liza, Bill, and Jed soon realize that something weird is happening in and around their new home. Nearly every morning, they find mysterious messages, strange footprints appear, lights flash, and secret compartments pop open. Is John Blake's ghost responsible? If not, who is? All right, that sounds kind of interesting. And is this a series? Because I didn't realize till just now. Okay, a Liza, Bill, and Jed mystery. All right, so I guess this is a series. Okay, so this is another one called Clues in the Woods, and I didn't even realize this, but let's see. This one is from 1980, so, and the text copyright is from 1968. So I'm guessing these are reprints, but I guess there's another one called Pirate Island Adventure, The Ghosts of Cougar Island, The Mystery of Hermit Dan, Key to the Treasure, and then The Haunted House. Interesting. So, I mean, I guess this is a whole series, so that's cool. I mean, I didn't know about it. I just happened to find these at a local thrift store. I guess they were donated by that local library. So, that's cool. Do I have any more middle grade? Yes, I have this one. That one? Nope. All right, so I got one more. And this is a peg carrot. I've heard people pronounce her name carrots, but I would think it's carre or something. And it's called Escaping the Giant Wave. And that's a pretty interesting looking cover. I like that big giant wave, and I love the human face in the sky. Like that's a really cool looking cover. All right, the worst. Let's go. There's no tagline on the front. Let's see if. All right, so this book is from 2003. Now let's read the synopsis on back. The worst vacation ever. 13-year-old Kyle thought spending a vacation on the Oregon coast with his family would be great. He'd never flown before, and he'd never seen the Pacific Ocean. Kyle's perfect vacation becomes a nightmare while he's babysitting his sister, Bibi. An earthquake hits the coast and starts a fire in their hotel. While fighting their way through the smoke and flame, Kyle remembers seeing a sign at the beach that said after an earthquake, everyone should go uphill and inland as far from the ocean as possible. Tsunamis, giant waves that often follow earthquakes, can ride in from the sea and engulf anyone who doesn't escape fast enough. Can Kyle and Bibi outwit and outrun nature's fury to save themselves from tsunami terror? And that sounds okay. Um, that it's summertime. I mean, this seems like a good summer read. You know, I have a few of Peg Carrot's Peg Carre. I have no idea how to pronounce that. I have a few of her books. That one sounds okay. All right. Now, let's get into young adult, baby, because I did find a couple of cool ones. Okay, I'm so excited. I am so excited. I actually, okay, I'll just show it to you. Missing Since Monday by Anne M. Martin. This is a point horror book. Great looking cover, very 80s looking. Oh my gosh. A very lovely young redhead. I mean, talk about back in the day, man. These covers. All right, so I ordered this book on eBay like a month or two ago, and I paid for it. And then the next day, the seller canceled my order and gave me a refund. I was a little sad and disappointed, but I ended up buying something else, whatever. But I really wanted this one. I found it at a local thrift store today, and it's in great condition, great spine. Cover's not too bad at all. I haven't read it. I really want to. Wow, birthday shelf book, 1986. Okay, so here's the synopsis on back. Missing Courtney Louise Ellis, age 4. Maggie's taking care of. Oh wait, is there a? Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't read the tagline on the front. Maggie's little sister was the first to disappear. Would Maggie be next? Now here's the synopsis on back. Missing Courtney Louise Ellis, age 4. Maggie's taking care of her 4-year-old sister for a week. On Monday morning, she puts Courtney on the bus to school. That afternoon, Courtney doesn't come home. She never made it to school that day. She's missing. The detectives looking for Courtney have hardly any clues. Then Maggie starts getting threatening phone calls, and she thinks she's being followed. Whoever took Courtney is after her too. One thing's for sure. If the police don't find Courtney soon, Maggie will be the next one missing. I mean, I think that sounds pretty good. All right, so there's this comedian that I really like. His name is Sam Morrill, and I was listening to one of his specials, and he had this joke about how there's just something a lot more manly about smoking a cigarette than vaping. And he said, for instance, if you see a detective smoking a cigarette, you know he's going to find that missing girl. But if you see the detective and he's vaping, that girl's about as good as gone. That was his joke. So when I started to read this, and it says the detectives that are looking for Courtney have hardly any clues, I'm like, well, maybe if they're smokers, they'll find her. That's like all I could think. So anyway, I was really excited. Missing Since Monday. Really excited to get that one. Then I found, so I already had this copy of Someone at the Door by Richie Tankersley Cusick, and it's in pretty good condition except for some missing corners on the cover, or on the front cover, that are unfortunate. But other than that, there's no creases on the cover or on the spine. The spine is like as healthy as it was the day the book was printed. The pages offer resistance when you try to open the book. It's just these missing corners on the front cover. Then at that same thrift store that I went to today, I found a book club edition of Someone at the Door. Okay, and then what I realized as I compared it to the one that I already had, the spines are different. So different shades of blue, different font color for Richie Tankersley Cusick's name, and different colors on the title. So yeah, this is the book club edition, and then the first printing has pink on the spine and a darker like royal blue. All right, so then I found another Richie Tankersley Cusick book while I was there. I wonder what happened. I wonder if some millennial just donated their stuff. I have no idea. Someone my age. Anyway, I I didn't own this one, and it's called Help Wanted, and it's in Archway paperback printing. In fact, someone at the door is also Archway, so these aren't point horrors; they're printed by Archway. But this is a cool looking cover. You know, there's a Polaroid of a girl's face burning. I really like that font, Help Wanted. And the tagline on the front reads, "The job promised easy money, but delivered sudden death." It's pretty metal. Let's go ahead and read this synopsis on the back. Get rich quick. The bold print seems aimed at her directly. Detail-oriented student for cataloging personal library. But when Robin Bailey answers the ad, she is surprised that she has already been recommended for the job by Parker Swanson, the gorgeous new guy in school. Parker's grandfather will pay her to organize the collection of antique books that belonged to Parker's stepmother, a medium who died by her own hand. Suddenly, Robin is plunged into Parker's dark and twisted family saga, trying to protect his stepsister, Claudia, who was haunted by visions of her evil mother and driven to desperation. Parker says Claudia is crazy, but Robin has heard and seen the ghost. Now her part-time job is a full-time nightmare. That sounds pretty dope. All right, and this is from 1993. All right, so that's it for young adult. Okay, so I think that was, a pretty cool, you know, so far I think that I've shown you some pretty good stuff. I was really excited to find this one. I found another Bentley Little, and it's called The Return. And there is no tagline on the front, but let's read the synopsis on back because I do like Bentley Little. All right, here's the synopsis on back. Springerville is famous for the legend of the Mogollon monster. Of course, nobody really believes it. It's just a good campfire story. Something to attract gullible tourists until an excavation team unearths the figurine of a screaming woman, the jawbone of a deformed animal, and a child's toy. How odd that they were buried together. Odd, too, is the foul odor lingering in the air, the strange noises at night, and the man's face found hanging from a tree. Now the locals are locking their doors because after sundown, campfire stories can seem very, very real. I mean, it sounds good. This is from 2002. So that was a lot of fun. Then I found another Alan Rogers book, who I hadn't even heard of, but I found two of his books lately, and I think that one of them was called Blood of the Children. It's just such a metal title. All right, I love children, by the way, but I mean, come on, in horror fiction, I mean, that sounds pretty cool. So, there's a blurb on the front that reads, "An epic of horror in the best-selling tradition of The Stand and Swan Song." So this book right here, Fire by Alan Rogers, is being compared to The Stand by Stephen King and Swan Song by Robert McCammon. So, I mean, that means there's some hype behind this. And this is a Bantam Books Publishing, Bantam Horror, says it right there. So let's go ahead and read the synopsis on back. I mean, this thing's in great condition. There's a little bit of wear and tear on the cover and the spine. I guess it's been read before, but the pages are still offering resistance. Yeah, Blood of the Children, that was him. Okay, so here's the synopsis on back. The end of the world has come, but the horror has only begun. The president, a madman with his finger on the button, he's determined to bring the rapture of Armageddon to an evil world. The scientist, he accidentally discovered the cure for death, but for the newly risen, it's not a blessing, only eternal damnation. The preacher, he's taken over the media to spread his apocalyptic message to an army of rabid listeners hell-bent on a second inquisition. The beast, hideously deformed, it stalks the ravaged land, bringing promise and panic with its eerie clairvoyant powers. Now a small band of men and women, both dead and alive, are being summoned to Heartland America and the ultimate showdown between good and evil, to a clash of forces beyond their wildest nightmares, to an orgy of violence where not even death can end the torments of the flesh. Prepare for the worst. Get ready to be consumed by fire. So that sounds pretty good. And then I got one more book for you, and it's a Richard Lehman, and it's called The Woods Are Dark. So I think this is like my fourth or fifth Richard Lehman book in my collection. This one is in excellent condition. Never been read. And just out of curiosity, let's see what year it was printed. 2008. And here's the synopsis on back. Midlle and her friend Sherry only wanted to do a little hiking through the woods. Little did they know they would soon be shackled to a dead tree, waiting for them to arrive. The Dills family thought the small hotel in the quiet town seemed quaint and harmless enough, until they too found themselves shackled to trees in the middle of the night, while they approached, hungry for human flesh. When this classic novel of terror was first published, it was heavily cut, with nearly 50 pages removed. Now, for the first time ever, the missing text has been completely restored, and every horrifying page is back. Finally, the novel can be read the way it was meant to be. Okay. I mean, this sounds pretty good. I mean, so yeah, this was a cool haul. I enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. Thank you guys for watching, and again, happy 4th of July and Independence Day to my fellow Americans, and have yourselves a good holiday weekend. Horns up and peace out.